Okay, so funny story. I checked the test recording and it couldn't even pick up my mic. So I had to do a few things here and there just to make sure it could actually pick up now. Uh, but I could hear you. But I could hear you at least, so I think we should be good. Everything should be good. Should be.
Okay, is it because Discord's using your mic, so therefore was it using like Audacity or something?
Hello, everyone in the audience. I haven't posted in a while. I'm very busy with content. I promise. I have not been procrastinating at all. At all. But considering I'm nearing 1,000 subscribers at the time of recording, and probably around the time I upload this video, I felt it would be, I felt it would be nice to interview somebody who hasn't really showed up, who doesn't show up in any of my videos, but is a very important person, uh, for the channel. That person being Sagaris, right over here. Say hi.
Hey, wow, you've really rubbed my ego there. Like,
Yeah.
oh, amazing.
frankly, I don't. I think I would try to introduce you, but like, but if anyone ever watches the channel, they can. I think they have a vague idea of who you are, but just for the folks that don't know anyway, why don't you try to introduce yourself there? Introduce yourself. You can stroke your own ego as much as you want, by
Okay,
the way.
I'll try and hold off, but yeah, I'm Sagaris, and on this channel, the thing you'll know me for is the creation of the Robot Wars 2004 mod that's used for the tournaments.
Precisely. So Tennis Wars would not even be a thing without the work of Sagaris. And also just remind me that just remind me that it's Sagaris, not Sagaris, please. um,
No, it is Sagaris, but the Dominus Ignis has said Sagaris for so long. Who am I to tell him otherwise, or tell them otherwise? Like,
I always thought it was, it was just Sagaris just because of Dom, but the more you know. You know what? Actually, I think the next time I ever end up on Dom's channel, either to like a video or a stream, because we have some like stuff on the back burner for so long. I'll try to remind. I'll just tell them off and just say it's Sagaris actually. Uh,
yeah, put them in their place.
yeah, they gotta, they gotta. Fuck. I was gonna say respect their elders, but then I remembered I'm like fucking. They have a job, and I'm going back to school for my final year of high school. Fuck. But anyway, so this interview is just for fun, but also because I had this plan for a long time. I think a few months actually, and and also just so we can get and also just so we can get to know the guy behind the Robo Wars 2004 the Robo Wars 2004 mod, which as already previously mentioned is the mod that helps out with the tennis ball that helps out with that actually that tennis walls relies on to actually exist at all. So I do have like a set of questions for you, but if I come up with any more, I like on the spot I will just like tell you immediately. So like see this as a semi-structured interview. I had to do a research paper and I had to do like a fucking research paper last semester like last year. So I might accidentally start using some of the only things I remember from that class. All right.
Okay.
So, first of all, I think this is a question that I definitely will try to ask anyone. But how did you actually get into robot combat as like as a whole? Like, did you just so happen to stumble upon Robot Wars sometime, like one time, or did a friend tell you about it? Did you find it through Robot Arena 2? Like, just what's the story?
I honestly think with Robot Combat, it was definitely Robot Wars that got me into it. I think it was a while until I realised BattleBots existed. So Robot Wars was the gateway for me into the hobby. For as long as I can remember, it's been a hobby of mine. I think from like, I want to say around the ages of like 4, 5, and when I was that age, it would have been around the time of Series 7 airing, because I was born in 1999. So I'm gonna make me feel even older actually now. It was a case of, yeah, I honestly think my parents probably just put on the show to keep me quiet, to be honest. But I got very much into it, and I think there was one Christmas where I received my first little Minibot toy, and it was like the little metal Robot Wars Minibot toys.
I think I think so. I'll try to put it up. I'll try to edit it. A picture on screen right now of like what I'm thinking, so you can like tell me off a little later. But I think I have
Yeah.
a gist of it. I don't.
Yeah, so the first one I got, sorry, it's the first one I've got of the Minibot toys was Chaos 2, and obviously being 4 or 5 years old, not going to be the best at reading, so I got really excited of the fact I got a Chaz toy because I read it how it was. So
As toy.
yeah, Chaz was the start of my collection, and then over the next however many years, all the way up until teenagers, every Christmas I would get like a few more pullback toys, a few more mini-bots, a few more other things. I'd have this big old collection. Before you know it, all the mini-bots, all the pullbacks were had. I was quite a creative individual even as a child, so I would make like a lot of people did when they were younger, making like all the little models out of like your paper and your card and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I think as soon as teenage years hit, as much as I loved playing with my little model robots in my homemade wooden arena, it got to the point where I was like, am I too old for toys now? And I remember seeing what got me into Robot Arena 2 was a lot of old Rossetti's replicas videos, where he had a load of replicas himself, and they were just in these battles, and I'm like, this game is really cool. So I spent ages trying to find it. I couldn't find it on eBay or anything. I assumed it was a game you had to buy. And then I think it was like 2014 time I found Game Tech Mods, which has all the different downloads of Robot Arena 2 on there. And I was like, oh, I've been searching for this for so long and it's just here. I can download it for free. So that's when like the Robot Arena 2 stuff started. And then as I've gotten older, my love for the hobby has just changed in ways. It went from I used to love watching it, to I used to love playing the toys, making my own models, to playing the games, to making my own games, to having my own ant weight and going to events. So it kind of progressed as I got older, but the hobby's always been there.
Yeah, that sounds like the usual progression of that sounds like the usual progression of people I know, people I've spoken to, unlike how they usually got into the sport. And funny enough, I was gonna ask one more question on the spot. It's on the list, but then you completely answered it for me. It's like, did you ever at some point get into the sport, like actual competitions itself? But now that you mentioned you had an ant wave, I kind of want to go into that. So it's like, just like walk me through like the whole process. Like, when did you decide to get the ant wave? The whole process of actually making it, how its first tournament went. Wait, do you still compete with it? Genuine question.
I did a couple of months ago until I fought a vertical spinner and it didn't end well, but I won't go into too much detail because I know on I think it's now just called Jevon Woodrow channel, on his channel that heat will be up at some point with my Antweight Tyrant in it, and in the trailer there's like a little sneak peek of what happens to it there, but yeah, the next is actually tomorrow, but I have not been able to fix him up, unfortunately.
Oh, that's terrible. And I'm assuming Tyrant is that, and I'm assuming Tyrant is isn't you mentioned that you made an ant blade and you start going to events, right? I'm assuming Tyrant isn't the first robot you've made, right? Just so we can be clear, because I don't want to accidentally I don't want to accidentally spoil anything. I don't want to accidentally spoil anything, you know. So it's like, just to be clear, Tyrant is like a completely separate robot from like my first ant weight or something. Like,
I mean, Tyrant, the one I have, was my first and only child.
oh, okay. Well, I don't think. Oh boy, I don't. No, I was okay. Do you still want to talk about like the history of Tyrant and like just the whole process of like his whole story while completely not mentioning the thing on Jevin's channel? Like, do you still want to get into that? Like the whole story behind Tyrant and
Yeah,
whatnot?
I can do.
Oh yes,
I think it's a
please.
case of I've always been like really big in the Robot Arena 2 community. Obviously, the game that Robot Wars 2004 mod's based around. And I moved to Norwich in 2019, and in 2022, like the very end of it, Norwich was hosting, I think it was AWS 65, so like the big Antway competition in the UK. So I was like, oh, I live near there, I'm happy to just like come and watch it. But then a mate of mine, Sean, who I've known for years, he said, no, you've got to compete. So he opened up Fusion. I looked at some of my old Robot Arena 2 robots and was like, which one do I think translates quite well into an Antway? And there was a flipper of mine called Tyrant, or Tyrant Evo, I think was the one I was running, and in the Robot Arena 2 tournaments. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy to just run with like a little lift or a flipper, that would be quite fun. So he modded it all up, sent me over the files. He had like a load of spare parts, so Tyrant was very much just botched together with old components that Sean didn't use anymore. And then I took the model files to the university, got them 3D printed. This was before I got my own 3D printer. And then, yeah, Tyrant's first tournament was, I think, November 2022, I think AWS 65 was. And it didn't do too badly, went 2-2. And then Jevon Woodrow, amongst some other people, managed to get the UEA, where we hosted AWS 65, to do a couple more events, and we started our own thing called MiniBeasts in the East, which is Antweights and Beetles. So when there was the Antweight one, Tyrant competed again, also got 2-2. So cementing itself as just a very mid-tier robot. It was never like the most powerful, but we live and we learn. And then, yeah, there was another MiniBeasts event a few months ago, and yeah, spoiler free, but I didn't win the heat,
Win.
so
You didn't win. I actually
no, it wasn't my finest hour.
yeah. Thing you know what, I think it would probably I think the event you're talking about would probably be up by the time I decide I post this interview. So I think we should be fine, but like just for safe measures, spoiler alert, they didn't Sagaris didn't win. I'm very sorry, everybody.
No, Tyrant didn't have a great time, and that's as much as I will say now.
But you know what? For it, no, with a record of like 2-2, that's not bad. Not bad. Be worse, but not bad.
Yeah, before the event, it was 4-4, so just a perfectly happy middle ground robot.
Well, actually, hang on. I'm gonna cut this section out. I'm gonna cut this section out, or I'm just gonna like do some. I'm just gonna let's like do. I'm just gonna cut this section out here, but oh, crikey. Okay. Wow, it's just like I think I think I'll get a grasp on just how violent that impact would have been. What if I get the time to watch the the competition it was in, but dear God, dear God, oh my, wow, that's insane. All right, right. I think we can get back to the structured questions now, and for the audience,
Okay.
and for the audience, if you're curious what we just talked about, it's some insane stuff. Hey, Sagaris, let's plug the competition that I competed in. What's the where, what was the competition that we can't mention due to spoilers?
The competition is MiniBeasts in the East. It's basically Norwich takes on AWS and also Beatles, but we've got a new venue, Albion Games Cafe in Norwich, and it's just the Antweights for now, but who knows whether the Beatles will come back up and running again.
That's amazing, and we can all watch this on Jevin Woodrow's channel, right?
Yeah, I believe a few heats are already out. My heat is one of the last ones, so yeah, just subscribe to Jevon Woodrow's channel, and whenever another episode gets released, you'll see it first.
Yeah. In the advent that I procrastinate, I don't get this, and I don't get the interview out in time. Like, well, if it ever comes out during the editing process of this video, I'll make sure to include a snippet of my live reaction. But when I heard, things were insane, insane. Like a red circle, red arrow pointing with a shocked expression, kind of insane.
Yeah, it definitely was that.
Right. I think we to get back to the structured questions now. Let me actually. I'm curious. Let me just check how much time we had on the 19 minutes. No, wow. We got a lot of content out of this. Right. So back to question. So now the next question. I think you're very aware of the Robot Wars mod that came out. That came out like ages before your mod, right?
Yeah, I think it was one of the first versions of RA2 I properly played. I remember playing it like during school in sixth form.
Yeah, it had like a whole bunch of it had like a bunch of robots from like with like fucking Extreme One Manta, Sewer Snake, and then they tried to do a whole reboot thing, and then that failed. I think it got
Mm.
canceled by then, right? Yeah. Um, I, I eventually, I think, uh, question two and three are actually quite connected in this case. Were you inspired by that original RoboWars mod to make RoboWars 2004? And just like, how did you get started into modding for this game? And I'm gonna throw in a third question for this thing. So this is like, you know what? My research, my research teacher always warned of like double barrel questions. So I think he'll be rolling in his grave once he sees what I do. But like, just to throw in a third one, did you have did you do any other mods or things like that before Robo Wars 2004? So just in case that seems like much, just to recap, it's were you inspired by the original Robo Wars mod from all the way back when to do Robo Wars 2004? How did you get into modding for Robot Arena 2? And did you have any did you do any mods or things like that? Did you help in any mods before embarking on Robot Wars 2004?
Okay, so Robot Wars 2004 wasn't actually inspired by the official Robot Wars Robot Arena 2 mod. How that actually came about is I think it was spring 2021. I took a break from studies at uni, went back home to my parents for a little bit whilst I was taking a break. And I think when looking back in my room, I just saw like underneath my bed or like in the cupboards, like my old wooden arena made out of old kitchen flooring and all the models of the robots. And I'm like, oh, I've got so much free time right now, and I can't just play with my robots like I used to when I was younger. I don't think a 21, 22-year-old in the bedroom
No.
doing that would I don't know. But no shame to anyone that does do that, but I was obviously very much into Robot Arena 2, so I kind of had the brainwave of what was if I just recreate a couple of my pullback toys into the game. So I think the ones I started with was like Chaos 2, Exterminator 2, Pussycat, Firestorm, and then I was looking in these boxes which I had all the models in and found a few of my own that I made, and I was like, you know what, it'd be cool if I made some of them as well, so I lobbed them in. And then I also found like a really basic arena which looked quite similar to the one that was made when I was younger, so I'm like, you know what, I'll take a picture of my kitchen flooring, I'll texture that onto this arena, and then all of a sudden I've got my pullback toys, my own models, and this toy arena into the game, and I'm like, you know what, this is a more socially acceptable way for me to play with my robots in my 20s. So it started there, and then it evolved to the point I was like, you know what, I really wish these ones got made into pullbacks, so why don't I make them into the game to play against them? So I made stuff like Diator and S3, and then I just kept on going. I was like, oh, it would be cool if this one got made, or if this one got made. And then, over however long it was, it then hit well over 100, and I'm like, I could just probably make this into a standalone game at this point. So it kind of all stemmed from me being really bored whilst having a break from studies and wanting to play with my own little models but in the game. And then it just got to the point where I got more confident with the building in the game, and I kept on stepping up the levels, and I was like, you know what, I can probably release this as a standalone game. It got a lot of good attention, so I was like, you know what, I'll do a little update for it. And it's got to the point now where there's been 7 iterations of the game. There was a time, like, for a good year or so, I was pumping out a new update every 3 months. I taught myself more and more within the game, so how to make my own arenas, so there's a few of them in the game. How to make custom components, which I learnt around this time last year actually, so it's allowed me to make really difficult builds like Mantis and Sir Kill-A-Lot, which I wouldn't have been able to do before. And then, yeah, that's how it started from me just being really bored during intermission. I think it was around the same time that lockdown was still a thing as well, so there wasn't really much I could do apart from just be indoors. So that was the kind of thing that kind of stopped me from going insane during lockdown, gave me something to do. And then, yeah, it's now become its own game with a lot of recognition, with about 450 plus robots in it, which I believe is the biggest roster in any game of its type. Like, the old official Robot Wars one, I think, had between 100 and 150, I want to say. And then stuff like your official games in the early 2000s, they only had like a dozen replicas. The pullbacks only had like about a dozen of them as well. So, yeah, in terms of fighting Robot Wars robots, the Robot Wars 2004 mod has easily gained the most expansive roster out of all of them.
Yeah, I can say that because it's like, this is the real experience I have during filming for the series, but like anytime I film anything for the series, I like you know how I have like the list of the robots. I just like say, oh, that'd be nice to have. They'd be nice to have in there. I don't even know who this one is, but sure, I'll put them in anyway. It's like, you know how I just sort I like formulate anyone like formulates a list of robots, right? The real consistent experience I have is when I try after. I have this system where I usually just like film one match after the other, right? So let's
Yeah.
say if I were to do think of a robot like right now. Just like think of a robot.
Yep. Okay. Am I saying it out loud? Or...
Yeah, just say it out loud. Say it.
Okay, I was thinking barbaric response.
Sure. So it's like, so let's say I did Barbaric Response versus Behemoth. And as you all know, Behemoth, Series 1 champion, absolutely demolishes Barbaric Response. And so we got the next, and so I have to do the next match, which is something like, I don't know, some fucking robot from the German series versus Hypnodisc, right?
Yeah.
I'd have to. I very easily get lost. I very easily get lost, like looking amongst the list of robots, just because it's like, wait, okay, so it's okay, so their name starts with this letter. Okay, are they in this one? Wait, no, okay, they're not in that one. They're not. Okay, so they're in this. They should be in this one, right? Okay, they're not in there either.
Mm.
What about this one? So it's like a list of just like looking through the alpha. I thank you for like arranging them alphabetically to make my life easier. But it's just like a list of like our alpha, like checking the like the different waves and stuff, right? Um,
Yeah.
of just like the alphabetical sections, and then like the teams if I can't find them in the alphabet. So it's like, where is this robot? I swear they're there. And it got to the point where I am pretty sure it must have. I don't know which robot it was, but in the Series 2 lineup, I had this one robot who I somehow gaslit myself into thinking was in the back. So I spent like a good decent 5 minutes trying to find him before I kind of realized, dear God, I'm crazy.
Which robot was it, out of curiosity?
I I don't exactly remember now, actually. I don't remember.
Because
But I
quite a few people that have done like their own tournaments and stuff, they sometimes add robots to their roster, and I'm like, I don't think I've made that yet, have I? And they were like, oh, so you're definitely not the only one.
uh, I don't know, but I think it must have. I know it was a flipper. I know that much. My mind tells me it must have been like must have been related to Raging Nightmare somehow. I don't know if it was, but I just knew it was a flipper, and it.
Would it have been Raging Reality?
I think so. Did you make that? Did he make them yet?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in either the 6.1 or 7.1 update, Raging Reality got made. Tell you what I can do is very quickly check. Whenever you download the game, there's like the there you go, the update log. So it will tell you exactly who got added in what update, and
Hmm.
um, hmm, I can't see it instantly. Which would it have been 5.1? Has it been? Yeah, it was 5.1. It's actually been in the game now for a good while, like about a
Oh,
year. Because that's like when I
oh,
first started learning about custom components. So instantly, one of the ones I thought of was Raging Reality would be good because the only thing that stopped me from doing it before is the fact it has a massive triangle flipper and there's no components in Robot Arena 2 that kind of replicated it well. So just modeling a custom flipper for it was really easy.
hmm.
Um, I could probably try and find a screenshot of it for you whilst carrying on with the
Like,
interview.
yeah, um, but it's also, but yeah, I'm still. It's like, uh, fuck. Okay, because like I'm even second guessing that if it was Raging Reality, because I don't exactly know what I think I'm still in. I think I'm still in like point four. I don't know what version I'm in. Because okay, so little fun fact about me. It's like I tend when I'm not yet done filming a series, a season for season for the Americans, a season for Tennis Wars, right? I usually stick to
Hmm.
that version of like the current version I have of the game of
Yeah.
like the pack, mostly just for consistency reasons, which is why for the entirety of series 2 I am at the entirety of series 2 it'll still have like the slightly pinkish light, I'll describe it, but
Yeah.
I think by series 3 it's gonna be gone, but for the entirety of series 2 it's mostly just gonna be like it'll still have that slight tint on it. um and it's like so I'm not sure what could have led me to do that. I'll let you know if it turns out I just didn't download it yet. But I think what happened was I saw it in Dom's video and was like, "Oh, yeah, that's nice. They're in the game. Okay, yeah, that'll be nice having tennis balls." And then I completely forgot that. I didn't download the version it was in, and so that happened. But I could also be completely wrong, because just remember, I don't exactly remember what the robot was. So for all I know, it could have been someone completely unrelated. But like, I'll if I do eventually let you know, um, yeah, I'll if I do eventually let you know, like, no, if I do eventually remember, that's the word, like what the robot was, I'll definitely let you know. Um,
Yeah,
now,
because if you're still running 4.1 right now, that means you don't currently have the international update, which has lots of big overseas robots like Panzer Mark IV, Manta from Extreme Warriors, who you mentioned before, even
what?
robots like the Grim Reaper from Series 7,
Whoa,
Weldor,
wait
that's
a
all
minute,
in that update.
wait a minute, I think I should. Wait a minute, I think I do have that. I do have that update. Yeah, because it's hinted in Heat C. For Heat D, Panzer's gonna be in the Heat. Wait a minute. So it is a different robot. Never mind. Huh.
Maybe you do then, and then because then update 6.1 was the international New Blood update where it took a load of community designs and made a load of new robots which were never on the show, whilst also having some real ones as well, like Firestorm 3, Mighty Mouse, that kind of thing. And then the last update was the Extreme update, which came out I think March, April time, I believe. And that's got a lot of robots that did well in Extreme. So you got like Arnold A, Terminator, Barbaric Response, Fighting Talk. Not that it did well, but it was in Extreme, and lots of other robots like that. Yeah, I've just sent you over Raging Reality as well, which is part of the 5.1 update.
Now I'm self-doubting myself because I would be. I think I'll rewatch like a good chunk of series 1 and 2 and like the few bits of 2 that's currently out there, just to check if it turns out they were in the game all. They were within like. If it turns out Raging Reality was back all the way in series 1, I would die. I would wipe my face off the internet. So editing me, let me know. Add in if it turns out Raging Reality was in the game. But now, speaking of the game, this actually question that I think you might have been asked a few times before. So, but just so people could actually really understand, just like the whole process of making the game, I'm gonna send you a robot that I recently designed, and oh my, I'm getting some insane ping spikes right now. There you go. So let's say I waddled up to you with with a special stick in my hand, pointed to your head, and I said, "Listen here, Bucko. Listen here, Bucko. I've got a robot you gotta add in your pack, or else you're gonna go bye-bye." And it turns out that the robot is this. I'll go into the robot later, but let's say we have this
Oh,
robot here. Uh, Overhead spinner,
yeah.
styled after Bloodsport, themed after Raggedy Andy. So so let's just say so just like we're using this robot as reference. What what's the process of actually like from the start having a robot, like knowing what robot you're gonna make all the way to actually getting it within the mod pack? What's the whole process from start to finish?
Well, the process of picking which one shall I make next for the pack, you mean?
Well, no, it's more. Actually, we could go into you know, it's more of the actual process of getting a robot into the game. You know, so like
Oh, okay, so like the build process then.
yeah, exactly, precisely.
Okay, so the it's really basic software. What I actually use to model the robots is Tinkercad, which is just a free browser CAD program, which quite a few people probably have, like, ironically enough, tinkered about with in their time. But it's just really simple to create easy shapes, especially because a lot of the robots are just lots of like flat sides, so it works quite nicely for that. And then it's a case of once it's all modelled up, I whack it into Blender and go through a series of processes like UV unwrapping, that kind of stuff, to then export to be a model that can then be put into the game. And then that's the main chassis. Photoshop is what I use to texture the robots, and then I build everything, like the components within the game I use to then build out the main parts. And then if I think a robot could benefit with a custom component like Raging Reality's Flipper, I'll model that in Tinkercad as well. And that was a whole learning curve for me trying to figure out how to make custom components work, but I managed to figure it out quite quickly, which I'm quite happy with. So with like the robot you sent there, it'll be a case if I make a really simple shape for the chassis, then for the wedge I'll probably model as something completely custom so it looks as close to that as possible. For the head I'd probably also do the same, and then afterwards I'll just texture all the parts, make sure the chassis has the correct skin, the components have the correct skin, and then it's just a case of just playing around with it, seeing if it operates properly, and then if it does I tick it off, and then after I have about 30, 40, 50 new robots, I'm like, cool, that's enough for another update, and add that into the main game, package it all off, and there we are.
Wow. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm not coughing up a hairball. Yeah, that's super interesting. That's it's really interesting hearing the whole process. I'm gonna check if it's actually within my list of questions because I have a hunch it is, but I have a hunch it is, but it could definitely not be. Is there a part? Is there like a part within the process of going into Tinkercad, going to Blender, putting it in the game that like really makes that really makes you pull your hair out? You know, just like that the one part that makes you scream. Like, is there just like a part that you can kind of dread within that whole process?
Honestly, I think it's got to the point now where I've made so many that I don't think anything really pops up that's too much of an issue. Issues I have had in the past is when making custom components, if the model has too many faces on it, it can sometimes just phase through robots, and that can be frustrating because then I've got to figure out how I can make it so it has less faces. But I think the way I get around that now is making a separate collision mesh, and that normally works quite nicely. But I think there's still like one robot in Robot Wars 2004 that has a flipper that just phases through everything, so that's something I need to sort out. But no, apart from that, and I think sometimes when a chassis has a really complicated shape, the texture map can be very, very difficult to navigate. So I'll give you a good example here. I will send you a picture of what Millie and Bug's chassis skin looks like, and it took a very long time to figure it out because it wasn't just a case of it wasn't a case of like two circles for the domes that I've got to skin. It was a case of it was just split up really weirdly. There's probably a way I can get around that, but I haven't figured it out yet. But there you go. There's Millian's texture.
Whoa, God! That is. Whoa. That is terrible.
Line up all like the brown bits, the black stripes, the yellow bits, and they were completely mismatched all over the place. The only thing that was in the middle was just the base, which is that silver circle. That was the only good part about that skin.
I can imagine. But yikes, look at that. Wow.
But sometimes it does come out quite easy. Here we go. Mega Morg's one that behaved a bit more. If I send that over, it was a case of like all the back was one thing, all like the top and front bit was one thing, and the sides were just there as well. So yeah, sometimes they can come out nice and easy.
That's nice.
Sometimes they can turn out like Millie and Bug, Or even this one here with Mighty Mouse, the simplest of skins. It's just light blue with some eyes,
With the eyes.
but for some reason the panels weren't together, so I had to split the eyes in half and try and line them up. And this is how they ended up lining up in game.
Oh wow! Wow.
So yeah, sometimes that can make me want to rip out hairs, but no. Apart from that, I think because I've been doing it for, I mean, just Robot Wars 2004 alone, the first replica was 4.5 years ago now, which is mental to think about. But even then, like, I was building in the game before that for tournaments, and yeah, it's just a case of if you do it enough, it just kind of becomes easy. Especially lightning, like these are the kind of skins which are nice to work with when they behave. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, you occasionally get your Mighty Mouse or your Bug who just make you heavily regret absolutely everything.
You know, the next question was actually gonna go into, was actually gonna go into that territory slightly, because it was actually gonna go into it was actually gonna ask, I was gonna ask, like, were there any specific robots that were like particularly rather painful to add? But I think I slightly have gotten my answer. Like, you can still answer it if you need. You can still answer it if I'm wrong, but I'm very sure it's Bug, isn't it? Just that one robot that was like really, really painful to like work with, wasn't it?
The skin was, yeah, but the rest of it was completely fine because it was just a case of making a dome component and then using it twice. So that was easy. The one that longest was Mantis, because Mantis needed 19 custom components to build up the frame.
Oh.
So I think where is it? So here we go. Here's the process of like starting to build the frame, and it took a very long time. That should be sending it now.
All right. Yeah. I think I got it. Oh. Oh. Oh.
So it's a case of just modeling the whole thing. I finally got to this stage with the model where I'm like, I think everything's done now that I need to do. But everything you see there, custom components. So the claw, each individual fork was a custom component that lifts up. The front, like longer fork. The roll bar bit is 2 different components in the game. So the way I was having to track it was a case of every single time I imported that component, I made it green within Tinkercad, so I knew what I'd already done because there was just so many components to work with.
Dear Lord.
And yeah, it then got to the point where I was happy with it, and it ended up looking like this in game. So it took probably about 5 hours, maybe more. But it did turn out really, really nice. But yeah, 19 custom components, and they weren't just like simple shapes either. It was like the curvature of the roll bar and the claw and all like the different holes in the forks and the frame as well. Like it took me a very long time to figure out how to do that like frame with the hexagonal bits on the side and everything. That was one that was a test of patience. But then like once it was in the game and I was playing around with it and stuff, it was a lot of fun. Even when it like manages to get into like little holes like there with Tornado where it can just grab on. I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
Wow. Is this actually is Mantis out? Quick question, just so I can see if I can make some changes within like the roster for Series 2. What version of the game is Mantis out in any public version yet? Of like
Yes, Mantis is in the last version, which came out in early spring, so 7.1 Extreme Update. That's one of the robots that featured in that.
You know what? Just knowing, just like really looking at Mantis and just like really seeing, I think I'll seriously make sure that they'll be in like Heat A for Series 3. You can go back to this interview and like tell me off if I don't end up doing it. But wow, that's like I'll just to make it trouble, as if it's gonna make it any worthwhile. Just to make your troubles a little less, a little more worthwhile. you're gonna be seeing it in Heat A for Series 3. And I promise it won't be in a throwaway match against like the reigning champion. I'll try to give it a fair fight. I'll make sure.
Yeah, give Mantis the justice it deserves. It took so long.
Oh, but even if I do, and it still ends up losing in 10 seconds, please don't go at me for my head. Uh,
Okay. I'll send you a screenshot as well of like some of the robots that were introduced in the later updates, so you can get an idea of what's in there now.
all right. I'm gonna have this on. Oh, wow. Okay, brand new air, nice bracket. Okay, okay, desirable. All right, you may kill. You know, it's such a shame, really, that there isn't like a dedicated house robot mode within RA2, just so you can just be like, just so I can have like the kill on stuff. Like I would, like, dude, Sandy's Wars would be even cooler if we had like house robots and stuff. But I think the AI would just always end up
Yeah, I
going
think
for.
so many.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think so many years ago. I think it was like way back in 2018. I think someone made like a test file you can put into the game where AI would ignore you, and that worked really well if you wanted to be a house robot. But I've tried looking for it so many times, and I cannot remember for the life of me where it was put. But
Ah,
I'm
that's
pretty sure at some
unfortunate.
point someone did make a file in the game where AI can ignore you, so you can basically act as a house robot without constantly being charged by the competitors. But yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Ah, Lost Media Wiki. Get on with that. Within the upload, like within like 2 minutes of this upload, it's gonna be a whole brand new article. House robot, house robot mode in Robot Arena 2. Status lost. uh, but dude, if you ever find me, let me know. Let me know because like I would, I would take advantage of that so hard. Oh, seriously.
Yeah. I've also
Right.
remembered, like, when you asked that big series of 3 questions, you asked if I'd worked on any other mods beforehand.
Yeah.
I don't think I've made, like, a proper release mod prior, but if I actually remember to send the correct image file, there we go. There is actually a new mod I started working on months ago, but I need to pick it
Oh.
back up, basically. But it does definitely tie into the real life side of robots, like the ant weights and stuff. But I'll send you that there as like a
Wow.
little sneak peek.
Wow. Look at it. The first you see it here. This is gonna end up on. This is gonna go on to be included in the interview. That's alright. But like, first thing is this the first time anyone would see this, or have you like made posts about it here and there before?
I did announce it on Facebook of all places in like
Oh.
robot communities. I think it was in the Antweight communities asking if any teams would want their robots in the game, and I had quite a few people respond saying about these three robots. So I've only made a few so far,
Hmm.
but yeah, the plan is whenever I do eventually get round to it, is to have a proper roster of at least like 15 teams,
Alright.
and then you can play with these real life Antweight replicas. So even like here, for example, another one that I made was like a melty spinner. It took a while to model, but I managed to get it into the game looking like pretty
Wow.
much identical to the real life
Look
thing.
at that.
And then yeah, these are the only two I think I have currently. But yeah, there is definitely plans to pick this up again in the future. So it won't just be the Robot Wars 2004 mod I'll have. It will also be this one, and the arena they're fighting in there is actually the arena that we used for, I believe, the Beetleweight version of MiniBeasts in the East. But I really liked how the arena looked, so it worked really nicely for the Antweights. But that was a custom arena that I modelled as well.
I see. Well, you know, this is just really cool, actually. Well, you heard it here first. You heard it here on YouTube first. I hope I'm the first person to at least mention on YouTube, at least. Uh,
Quite possibly, yeah.
we're gonna be seeing an Antway Robot Arena 2 mod from the person behind Robot Wars 2004. That is pretty cool. Do you, I won't even ask for an ETA at this because I won't even ask for an ETA considering. Sorry, do you have, because I don't think you really have like an estimated time of release or arrival, considering you're only like thinking of you're only like now thinking of getting it off, like actually working on it again, right? Like now.
Yeah, it's been one of them things where, because of real life stuff over the last few months, like, you know, the exciting stuff like adulting and work, I haven't even been working on Robot Wars 2004, but I definitely want to be able to give myself a bit more free time, or allow my free time to be spent just working on this kind of stuff again, because it's been a while since I've actually built something within the game, like any version of the game, and I definitely want to get back on that horse.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, it'll be good. It'll be nice. I'll try to make a gameplay video first time it comes out because this is looking, frankly, very, very exciting. Now this next question, I think you've probably been asked a few times here and there. You probably mentioned here and there, but just so people can have a quote unquote consistent um source to go back to. Do you do you have a favorite robot in particular? Like not like within like not even just locked with Robot Wars or anything like that. Like do you have any like do you have a quote unquote favorite robot?
I do, yeah. I always loved the flippers, like very typical UK response because that's all we have at this point. We have the good flippers. But ironically enough, my favourite flipper isn't a UK one; it's a Dutch one. If you can guess who that would be.
My memory. I feel like it's a robot. I feel Gravity?
It is Gravity, yeah. That's
Yeah.
been like my favourite robot since like real young. So it was the fact that in its run as well, it got like so many records in one series. It got like the quickest fight at the time, only robot to flip Growler, Dead Metal in all 7 series, 9 if you include Extreme. That was the only robot that ever flipped it. Cassius Chrome, everyone loves Cassius Chrome. It just broke so many records, and it just it just performed amazingly. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be able to drive that kind of thing one day. And funnily enough, years ago during lockdown, like in the robot communities, when Among Us was a really big thing, we were all playing Among Us, and there was someone in that community, like in that call, playing with us. And whenever I got imposter, I would always just find myself killing him first, and I felt quite bad for him. And then after it all ended and he left, someone in the call, I think it might have been Jevon, he said it's really weird how these kind of people we used to watch them on TV, and now we're just playing Among Us with them. And I was like, oh, what robot did he use to drive? And he went Gravity, and I was like, oh shit. So, I was accidentally just repeatedly killing one of the Gravity team members, which has been my childhood favorite robot for God knows how many years.
uh,
I was just killing him constantly.
my memory is very bleak on the Gravity team, but in the Advent you end up finding this interview. Just know Sagaris is very, very sorry. He's very sorry, and you should let him. And if you still have the robot around, you should let him drive it. It'll be very funny, right? I promise he's not
Oh,
gonna
I don't know
break
if
it.
Gravity's still around.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's probably like in a billion pieces or just like rotting in like a shed. But like in the unlikely advent that it's still around, he will let Sagaris drive it. Let Sagaris drive it. Pretty please, the cherry on top.
The thing is, I don't think he actually owned Gravity. Like,
Yeah,
he's like
no.
still quite well known and stuff. It's Jeroen. I'm gonna try not butcher this name, but Jeroen. I have instantly done it. Jeroen van Leeuwenhoek. and he like owns like Tough as Nails nowadays, and the Bash. If you remember the Bash from the
Oh yeah, the
original
Bash,
episode, like the last
the World
episode of Robot
Series.
Wars.
Yeah, the World Series thing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he has like a antweight called Hold My Beer, doesn't he? Yeah, he has Hold My Beer, which is like a little mini Tough as Nails.
Oh wow. Well, you know what? You know, with how hard you butchered his name, I don't think he will be accepting any apology anytime soon. Rather, unfortunately. Oh well. You live and you learn.
It's worth it. Yeah.
Anyway, so this next question, um, this is actually one. Do you have, do you, in regards, okay, so we went into the process on how you made robots, but now we're gonna actually delve a little bit into how you pick the robots, because when in regards to picking the robots, do you have like a predetermined list of, okay, this will go first, and then they're next, they're next, they're next, or do you just like pick and choose like whoever you feel like, or do you even have like a wheel of all the names and you just like and whoever it lands on you just make into a robot? Like, what's your process?
So basically, I'll send this to you now as well.
Whoa.
I've got this big old spreadsheet here of every single robot that competed. So what I do is once it's done, I'll make it green. Once I've made like a version of it, but not that specific version. So for example, 13 Black's in the game, but the Series 5 version of 13 Black isn't. So I'll make it blue. So it basically tells me this isn't a priority. You've got another version of it in the game.
Yeah.
But if you did want to make this version at some point, go for it. And then if things are in orange, it means I started or am in the progress of making. But a lot of them are like, okay, so if I started, hit a wall with it, and I was like, you know what, I'll leave it for now. So there's a lot of robots on this list here, like Revenge of Trouble and Strife. I tried to make before I knew custom components, and it just wasn't looking clean, so I left it. Rough Dougal, I think it looked really, really cursed, and again, I didn't know how to do custom components back then, so I was like, you know what, I'll leave it. But yeah, like towards the bottom as well, it's got all that key code. It's got a list of all of them, so if I just screenshot that part for you just to make it easier for you to view, it basically tells me how many I've made from that series, how many are left, how many are in progress.
Oh, nice.
So it helps me know which ones I still need to do. So what I normally do is for each update I'll pick a theme. So the last update was Extreme, so that's why there's very few Extreme 1 and 2 robots left to make now, because I did a lot in the last update.
Yeah.
And then like 5.1 was the international one, so I ticked off a lot of the big like US, German, Dutch robots. And then that one was done. So yeah, I normally pick a theme and then roll with it and look at the ones I haven't done and then make them. So I think the next theme I wanted to do was like basically based around 2004. So looking at a lot of the robots that were still competing around the time of 2004, I have made most of them. But there's some robots like Weird Alice and Hades and like the live event Velociripper with the shell, which I think I've tried to model about 10 times over the last 3 years and none of them have worked. So as soon as I figure out how to model Velociripper's shell, that'll be in.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it's a case of pick a theme, find which ones I haven't done, right, that'll be the roster. And then sometimes I just make loads of other random ones. It might not fit the theme, but it's like, you know what, I really want Granny's Revenge, so I'll add it in.
they just be like nice to have and whatnot. But
yeah, it's normally a case of loosely following a theme and then adding any other ones I really want to make at the time.
yeah, well, yeah, that's really cool actually. Wow. Well, I'll be excited to see what theme you go with next. And actually, in relation with that, I think it's rather known that Robot Wars has like a lot of like lost media behind it, especially not only with battles and whatnot, but also with robots, right? So like we don't have any information on per se F1, this one like car themed robot that showed up, or this I'm gonna butcher this, or this. I'm not even gonna try to butcher this one robot, but it's this it's this blue horizontal made by a college, and I'm pretty sure it was gonna get into Series 7. Uh, I'll I'll send you like the college it's for, like where the college is based, just so you can pronounce it and I don't have to. But it's like this one robot made by this,
Okay.
uh, yeah, by this college, and even one I mentioned before with you.
I think I found it.
Yeah, yeah. And even this one robot I told you about, we spoke about, Banana Ame, or even like, screw it, the lightweight T-bot nobody knows the name of. It's like, there are so many mysterious yeah, that thing. Um, like there was a
I was looking
lot.
through like the ones that failed to qualify for Series 7, and I saw one that said college, so I'm like, it'll probably be this.
Yeah, it's
And it's
that one.
funny enough a gif of Gravity throwing it in the qualifier.
No wonder why it's gone lost. But anyway, but the gist is, there are these. Oh, there are all of these like lost mysterious robots that nobody knows anything on, and I just need to ask, with all these very mysterious robots, despite how little we know of them, uh, do you have any plans to sort of make these robots? Like, for instance, there was this one Series 3 robot which I'll show on screen now, and I'll try to send in DMs. I think you know the robot I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
Um. So yeah, I guess especially with the really absurd ones like it. Actually, well, let me just send it to you anyway, just because it's a really cool looking machine. Like, just get that, get in, but that's cool as hell. Like, with machines like this one, and all the other lost ones.
But all of
What?
these robots were like pictures, like ones that failed to qualify for Robot Wars, and they only had like a singular picture for reference, and I made them from that. So
I feel embarrassed because I don't. I'm gonna make sure I do not complete my sentence because I think I nearly spoiled. Actually, because I think I nearly spoiled a robot that's in a heat that I haven't even begun editing yet. But just
okay.
one of these robots ended up in the series. Maybe even two of them for all I know. But it's like,
Mm.
okay, good to know that. But it's good to know that even like the failed to qualify robots still do have robots in the game.
Yeah, they've got even robots like Thorak, which um failed to apply for Series 7. That's actually a really strong robot in this mod, so I definitely don't shy away from building them.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, wow, I have. Okay, wow, but yeah, good to know. And I'm actually checking my list right now, and there are like a couple of questions which have already been answered, rather unfortunately. Either that or I'm looking back at them and I kind of realize, okay, that question's kind of asked. So I'm just gonna actually, you know what? There are like three questions which I'm not happy with, but I'm gonna ask this one other question I have and I wrote down anyway. So let's say, let's say hypothetically, um, let's say hypothetically, every like Robo Wars 2004 is completely done, and let's also include the Adway pack as well. So like, let's say these two quote unquote projects you have, like these two projects you have done, not much you have to do now. Um, so like, I'm sorry, I wrote this question before I knew of the Antway pack. Um, but like, let's just say all your current projects right now are done. Where you don't
Mm.
really have any more robots to add anymore. You don't have any more robots to add and whatnot. Like it's good. It's good. When you get to that point, do you plan on just retiring off into the Bahamas, or do you have plans for other packs? Like, or for instance. like I already know you already had one for the Anime Anarchy, but this is just like my way of asking. Do you have anything else planned after finishing up Robo Wars 2004? Like, for instance, maybe a pack on the reboot. Ooh. Like, do you have any plans for
Well,
the future?
I think the ones I will solely focus on, especially for the time being, are the ones that were from 2004 and before, because obviously that's like the main theme of the game. Robot Wars 2004.
Yeah.
But I have just, for the fun of it, I have made reboot robots within the game. So I've made robots like Ironside, I believe Iron Ore 6, just like to have a play around with personally. So whether they end up becoming a part of an update in the future where it's like the 2016 update, for example, so you can actually play with some 2016 robots, that could be a thing that happens. But again, like, no immediate plans, because obviously the focus is just the classic roster. I know, yeah, I've got a replica of an Apollo I made here as well, because I sent that over to Dom for one of their videos.
Alright. Wow! Look at that!
I don't know, I can't remember when I made Ironside, but I'm pretty sure I saw it while scrolling through my screenshots earlier. I've got absolutely hundreds of screenshots regarding this game because of how long I've been building in it. So it's always an absolute hassle to try and find the one that I want.
That's nice. Cool. Alright. But like, yeah, that's cool actually. Even though I know you're not you're not very certain if it does come to fruition. But in the event you do decide, say, you know what, I already made enough reboot robots, why not? Like, in the event you do decide to do that, I'll be 100% ball for it. Because, it's just cool, you know? And who knows, maybe by that point, I'm around your age. I know, you're old. And, I just look at it and like, you know, I could bring back tennis horses. It's just like, you get the gist. It's like, in the event you do decide to do anything else, I'll make sure to check it out because this is some fun stuff we have right now, especially the reboot stuff, especially with the reboot and whatnot. We're actually nearing the end of the list now. That's amazing. Okay. Are there any? Actually, wait. No, now I'm gonna skip that one. So this is more of something within the pack. This is more something I wrote. So within the pack. Oh wow, that's a really sick Ironside. Uh, within the pack, and within the pack for the game, are there some robots you think people really sleep on in terms of like using them? Like, do you think there's like a robot in there that you feel people should be using a little more often, or like could do better per se?
I'll have a look through the list because obviously there is a lot of robots within this game. I'm trying to think which ones are like surprisingly overpowered. I know in quite a few people's AI tournaments that Revolution 3 seems to do quite well for whatever reason. Because it's
Oh.
not built to be like a really powerful machine, but it seems to like repeatedly make their finals. So I'm not too sure what happened in the creation of that one, but it does seem to do quite well in a lot of people's series. And then you've got like your like Firestorms and Burmoths, which always seem to do really, really well in everyone's series, especially Firestorm. Storm 2, I think, purely because like the amount of speed you can get with it, that does
Oh.
really well. But then there's also been like some rebuilds that I've done recently, like Dan Tom Kia. It went from being like quite a low-powered robot to now it's definitely one of the better ones in the pack. So especially stuff that has like a really low wedge. So like Barbaric Response, because it has a custom component for a flipper. For some reason, it just seems to like get underneath stuff really well, which is why I think Burmoth gets under stuff really well as well, because it's got a custom component for a flipper. So, yeah, flippers with like custom flippers, they're normally, from my experience, really good at getting underneath robots, and they have a good time with bullying opponents around. So, definitely check out the robots like like your Dantom Kia's barbaric responses. Firestorm as well is a really solid one.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if you had time. I don't think you've had any time to catch up with Tennis Wars, but if you've seen Heat, like when you mentioned Storm 2, I kind of giggled because it's like in. Have you seen Heat B yet?
I probably have, but can't remember the events of it because it probably would have been like what a couple of months ago now. Yep.
That was frankly what I think. Like Beat C was kind of a dud, but I think even with that dud of a series with like 10-second battle of like 10-second battle and whatnot, I just feel like that could officially be, as of late, the shortest fight in Tennis Wars so far. Like, even counting Series 1, and I'm pretty sure that had Gemini versus IG-88, where Gemini literally like within the opening seconds like threw out IG-88. Right. But
that's the issue with like the AI tournaments. Like there's no tactics in the driving, it's just charge. And how much speed Storm 2 has, if it goes up someone's wedge, it's just sending itself out.
It's a recipe for disaster, for them, rather unfortunately. Right. With this next one, now I think I know. I can have a guess on who is the first robot you're gonna say, but are there certain robots that need nerfs or buffs that are currently in the pack? I think I might know one that you're gonna say right now.
Funny enough, one that I was looking at recently was Gravity.
Oh!
Because it's a case of it's got a custom like shell around it, like the frame, and then because of that, robots physically cannot hit the chassis unless it gets underneath. So I think the way I was going to get around that is obviously because in real life, Gravity's armor's only polycarbonate, but right now it's one of the strongest robots in the game.
Yeah.
I was planning on making the actual chassis have like a really low health point, so it can still tank a lot of hits, but if a robot gets like a lucky shot at the base of it, that'll probably knock it out. I'm assuming Burmoff is the one you think I'm going to say as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way I kind of got around, the way I kind of thought of a nerf for Burmoff is because, especially in longer fights, it would always have a tendency to break down towards the end. What I did is I deliberately gave it slightly less battery power. So if it fires the weapon too much, it can sometimes be like 30 seconds or a minute before the fight ends, and it will just break down. So I thought that would be a good way to nerf it and recreate the realism of, it's shat itself again. But yeah, no, it is ridiculously powerful because of how low it is, and it's quite a tanky build. It normally eliminates the opponent before it even gets the chance to run out of battery most of the time. So yeah, I'm not too sure what else I can do with Burmoff, to be honest, because it's so ridiculously low down to the ground, which it was in real life as well. But in RA2, it translates so well to the point it just gets underneath, and because of how low the walls are in the arena, it normally has an easy time.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like did you make any changes to Burmoff yet? Because if you've seen Heat A, it's like it's still spoiler alert, it still got through to the semifinal, of course, because it's champion and all that. It's still really good. But if you watch the episode, it's like Burmoff had a much harder time to like last series. It was complete. Like the grand final was the only fight where it really had any true trouble. Like within its run, it was complete. It was like a complete fucking. It literally, as I said before, bulldozed over everything and won. Like it was unstoppable. But in like series 3, in like series 2, the first, like it very nearly became a second round dropout, mostly because of Hypnodisc, and I think you know of that, considering I sent you the battle before. Yeah, before
Yeah,
it
that's
came out.
Yeah, that's one battle I can very like vividly image right now. I remember watching that.
Yeah, like that was like that, like did you like I like this? This isn't really relevant to the interview, but I just want to ask: did you make any changes to Behemoth yet? Considering I noticed it's like it really doesn't have much of a fun time to. It really just like it really it really struggles to have that have that sweep it used to.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've made a single change to Burmoff, but it might just be a case of with all like new robots constantly getting added into the pack, it could get to the point a bit like in real life where you keep the same design, but then you got more robots getting like some rebuilds or they're being updated or new robots come in that are quite powerful, which will then give it a challenge. But like for example, like the first version of Dan Tom Kia that was in the 2004 mod, it wouldn't have stood a chance against Burmoff, but with the new one, it would have a much better time with it. So I think it's a case of other robots that were outdated getting updates might now be giving it a bit more of a challenge, or new robots with like all these like different custom components and really low wedges and flippers like that could end up causing it a bit of trouble. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it does in future tournaments as well, with like all these new like low flippers, like the new rebuild of like Air, the introduction of Barbaric Response, other flippers like your Chaos 2s and your Dantom Kias getting rebuilt so they're even more powerful now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it does. But yeah, Burmoth's been one of the robots that's stayed the same, I believe, since the initial release.
Yeah, I probably should have gathered that it was less changes on Behemoth, but more everyone around them slowly just like, no, I certainly hope I don't. I certainly hope Behemoth doesn't have a Chaos 2 sort of story for its in arc in Tennis Wars. I certainly hope that does not
Oh
happen.
no, I think it will. I think it will still consistently be like one of the strongest robots, like easily.
I'm probably gonna watch this interview back in a few years, like probably long after Tennis Wars is over, and depending on how the future goes, I will either go, yeah, no shit, it's Behemoth, of course it will stay the same, or I would just look at it like, or just like rewatch this interview and be like, if only you knew how bad it would be. But time will tell if Behemoth will really fall off. But
Yeah.
as of now, it's still a decently worthy contender. How it'll go in Series 3, I'm not sure. Right. This next question I actually added last minute because I got kind of curious. Has anyone on like that was on Robot Wars ever been made aware of your pack, or like played it, or even like helped you out with it, with like per se reference pictures or just like tidbits and details and whatnot? Like, has anyone on the show assisted you in some sort of way, or played the pack?
In terms of, I don't think any references have really ever been sent over to me, and as far as I know, with the Antway one, which I'm working on currently, that's all like the builders sending in their references, including a couple of robots from David Weston, who made Crackers and Smash for Robot Wars. He's still very, very, very active in the Antweight and Beetleweight scene. I'll no doubt be seeing him tomorrow as well when we have another Antweight event. But in terms of like people that were on Robot Wars that play the game, I'm not too sure. But I'm currently scrolling through like Facebook posts right now to see like who's interacted. You've got John Denny here, which I'm pretty sure is he 13 Black. Who's John Denny, mate?
Let me check. Let me check the members of 13 Black. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm doing a bit of fact searching. Yes, Team 13.
All right.
So, um, just looking to see else who other names I recognise who have like reacted or commented on the pack, like names I do instantly recognise. I'm not too sure because in these communities as well, I do other stuff like 3D printed models, and I made one of Storm 2 earlier this year, which had like a working 4-bar lifter and everything. And Andrew Marchant of Team Tornado did like tag Storm 2's Ed saying, "Isn't this amazing?" And he put it on his page saying, "Would love to be able to like release these." So there is a lot of stuff I do like on the community, which does end up picking up quite a bit of attention, which is quite nice. I screenshot this as well.
Also,
yeah, here we go. Here's like some other things I do within the community that isn't like Robot Arena 2, but
oh wow, would you look at? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hang on a second. Wait. Hang on. Remind me. Didn't I help you? Didn't I help you with one of your models? Right. I helped you with like.
I think you sent me a file for Burmoff, which I used as a reference.
Yeah, it's like I looked at it and I was like, hang on a second. I think I recognize that build. Because I kind of recognize it as mine.
If I send you the post there, if it plays for you, this is what it ended up becoming. It became like a, the Hexbug BattleBots Push Strike toys.
Yeah. That's the sound. I'm sorry. It's just like the sound of it, the sound of you turning it around, and just like scraping on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear that from your end.
I just like that was not very good. But look out, it's cool as hell. When you look at that, and I don't see my name attached to it. Shaking my head.
Should have like signed it on the bottom of it.
Yeah, wait, true. I should have had. This is made by Tenny. Tenny_RW. Please credit Sagaris, you absolute buffoon. If you forget to credit me, at least this is down here. But alas, I didn't take my shot. Oh well. Totally not bitter.
You live and you learn.
Right. And finally, the last question, which I think which might feel generic, but I feel like is generally a good question. If anyone else were interested into doing something like Robot Wars 2004, with just like making a Robot Arena 2, or just like frankly doing any sort of mod for a game, or just doing anything Robot Combat for like a game, right? What's your... Jesus Christ, it's storming outside. What's your piece of advice for them?
Just go for it. If you've got an idea, just send it. Don't focus on like how it does and be like, oh, if I release this, I hope it gets thousands of downloads and I get all these big YouTubers playing it. Like, don't go in with that mentality. Like, make sure you're going into it because you want to, because it's fun, because it's something you're going to enjoy. Like, if you've got an idea and you think, oh, this would be cool, then be the person to make that happen. With stuff like the Robot Wars 2004 mod, obviously there was the original mod for it that came out in like 2015-ish, I want to say, and it didn't have like a load of the ones from the classic show, and I'm like, oh, but there's no other games that have loads like that from the classic show. And then it got to the point where I ended up making it myself, and I'm like, you know what, I'm glad I did, because even now if I get bored every now and then, I will just play my own mod and just run out fantasy matches. I even like do like my own little series which I put on my channel, which is dedicated towards all the robot stuff. And I don't really, I don't ever upload it being like, oh, I hope this gets 1,000 views. I upload it because I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Some of these fights actually were like had a shock upset or stuff. So yeah, no, if you want to get into something, especially like this, just go for it, persevere with it, and you'll like, even now I'm seeing improvements with the way I build, and I've been building within this game for about a decade. So every single time a year passes, I'm like, wow, I didn't know how to do that last year. So yeah, if you stick with it and do it out of like pure interest more than anything else, you will just enjoy doing it.
Those are some really good words to go by, and it's funny. I feel like e- it's words that I feel like everyone would say, but you know what? Just for funsies, I feel like if I could, I would just like uh you know those hopecore edits of like words and stuff with like yeah with like lo-fi so like
Or with like the
music in the
do do
background.
do do.
Yeah, exactly. And like the background is like stock footage of like islands and people playing and whatnot. Imagine I just like do that except it's with your words. And like the whole thing of you just like really giving a really good answer.
That might need to be done, you know.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like that would definitely be the outro. But speaking of the outro, thank you, Sagaris, for doing this interview. We have, I'm happy to say, we have gotten an hour and 30 of content, and it's currently 12 a.m. It's currently midnight at my end. But we've got an hour of
We'll
content
have fun
now.
editing that down.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna. You know what? I feel like a good chunk of it could definitely be left in, but I'll probably just like edit it here and there. Mostly regarding pictures and whatnot. I obviously, considering I audibly say, edit. I'm trying to put it on screen, but like uh, yeah. Still, thank you for getting on with this interview. And if you'd like, do you want to? Do you have anything you'd like to promote, like your channel, or even like the Robo Wars Season 4 mod itself? Like, do you have anything you want to promote right now?
Yes. So if you do enjoy stuff like Tenny's Wars, whenever I get the free time to do it, I also upload episodes. They're like very minimal editing, but if you enjoy watching tournaments within the mod, definitely check out the Sagaris 2 YouTube channel. I'll send you a link because sometimes it doesn't always come up when you type in Sagaris 2. I reckon if you typed in Sagaris 2 RW 2004, then it would, but it's sometimes a bit of a mouthful.
You know,
So
it's funny. Anytime you're gonna have to like get extremely specific with my username, so it's like Tenny_RW, because some like children's channel like called Hey Tenny has like officially taken my name. So if anytime anyone searches up Tenny, it's the children's channel that comes up first, and nowhere does mine. So you're gonna have to like, so I'm in a similar situation with you where you're gonna have to get like ultra specific to find the channel.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'll send you a link and a screenshot to the page so you know what videos I've done, just so people know that's
Yeah.
the right one.
And even then, it'll still be, if I remember, it'll be in the link. It'll be the link in the description. It'll be the link in the description, and yeah, it'll be the link in the description. We're gonna, if you can't search it up, you can definitely find it through there. As well as that, I
Yeah.
feel like it's a no-brainer, like directly Robo Wars 2004 on Game Tech Mods. It I there are a lot of content on there. Like there is, as mentioned earlier in the interview, 450 plus robots in there. It goes over a lot of Robo stuff, and it's like it's grand. It's completely grand. I highly recommend you check it out for yourself. As well as that, if there are some matches you feel would have gone better in Tennis Wars, per se, Robo Chicken, Plunderbird, um, you can you could definitely simulate those again, considering the Tennis Wars arena for Series 2 is officially in the pack. So if you want to make your own, so if you want to do your own stuff with my name, please go right ahead. But seriously, do show all support to Sagaris, and right, and again, thank you for agreeing to do this interview with me, even though we've had this for, even though I proposed this to you like months back, like let me check. Let me like check how long. Oh my god! Oh my god! No, it's the first. The I proposed this to you during the start of the year. Jesus. Oh god.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, seriously. I'm serious. It's like.
To be fair, I do get that because sometimes, like, I won't make something for a while, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna pick up back on this robot that I started 2 weeks. What do you mean it's been 3 months? So it's a robot I thought I started a few weeks ago, and it's been like a quarter of a year, and I'm like, ah.
Ah. But it's good to know that we finally have the interview out. Anyway,
Hmm.
I don't know what's gonna be the. Currently recording, I have 933 subscribers. So for all I know, by the time this is uploaded, we could have um, we can have the big four numbers, and if we do have the
Oh
big
wow, it
four
says you're on
numbers,
993 here.
yeah, exactly. So if we do have the big four numbers, I'm gonna get a copyright claim for this. But just like you know that one song that's like celebrate good times, come on, like that's just gonna be. I'm just gonna have that edited over this, over the rest of the outro now. Even though I fully know I'm gonna get a copyright claim. But anyway,
Well, if it helps, we've just gone from 993 to 995 subscribers.
celebrate good times, come on.
5 more guys.
5 more. Who knows? For all I know. But again, as I said, for all I know, I could definitely hit the big four numbers by that point. But anyways, thank you again to Sagaris for agreeing to do this interview, even though it's been like nearly. I proposed this to you back in January. Um, as I've said before, um, do check out do check out his channel. And do download the mod if you like what you see or like what we talked about. And I seriously kind of emphasize this stuff. Please do show all support to Sagaris, especially when he releases Antweight, the Antweight mod coming out soon, because you know it's got real teams, guys. It's got real teams, the real ones.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, as I've said, thank you again, and I feel like this is a good point to end the interview. So good. Do you have any final remarks? Like anything you want to say?
Download the Robot Wars 2004 mod today. You'll love it.
True. Who knows? Maybe you can do your own series. Insert like not the picture of like the both of us with shocked expressions like pointing. The fucking like pointing Sojak thing. Except it's us. Just like that image. Anyway, I feel like this. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this interview, and thank you for 1,000 subscribers. If I do reach that number by the time this